It's July 14th, and here's a quick agronomy update. We're out here at Owner's Acres here at Aurora, and unfortunately this last week we've had a couple weather events come through. Last Wednesday night we recorded 75-mile-an-hour winds here, and so a lot of what we've been doing this week is looking at green snap damage in various areas. Some areas fared well, some didn't. One thing, it's important to note is, we have some plants here that are just simply lodged. They didn't snap, but they've obviously bent and crooked over. We're also seeing a fair amount of this where tops have popped out. In this case, we are above our ear leaf, so this has the potential to go on and still put an ear, but obviously, we're going to see some reduced yield in these situations. And then we didn't see a lot of it here, fortunately, but I know some areas we're seeing breakage below the plant. So when you're evaluating, there's kind of three things you need to evaluate. How many are in the lodge category where they have the potential to stand back up? How many are snapped above the ear? And then how many are below? And then just try to keep an eye on that. So everybody kind of has a different insurance plan on their operation. So kind of depending on how you're covered or how you proceed and your choices there will kind of dictate maybe how you move forward with the crop. But a couple other things we're seeing. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of tassels poking out this week. This is kind of the window we expected the majority of tassels and pollination to start up this week. So the planes are flying hot and heavy. Time to get that fungicide on. This field right here, we're picking up quite a few corn rootworm beetles emerging. We've actually seen a little bit of silk clipping take place here as some of these corn rootworm beetles are coming out. It's also a good time if you're out in your fields to we can start seeing if you can kind of start determining where that primary ear is. Good opportunity to kind of peel some of these ears back. We can start counting rows now. The length, and how we pollinate out to the tip is still to be determined, but you can start getting some row counts by popping them and seeing a little bit of what it's kind of our first peek at what our potential is. Again, reminder, a lot of these rows around were determined back in that V3 to V5, V7 stage. So that's been there for a long time, but now we can kind of see. Also looking for any pinched ears, if there's any row abortion or pinching it towards the top that might indicate a stress or potential damage there. Switching over to beans. Definitely a time, sometimes we just tend to drive by beans this time of the year, but we're hitting a lot of the beans are hitting that R3 stage. Again, that's a key fungicide timing. Our research has shown over the years up, consistently a 3 to 4 bushel yield response to fungicide on soybeans. So even with commodity prices where they're at, this is really the time to get the biggest bang for your buck on soybeans. But as we're digging up soybeans, obviously we can see our nodulation. It's a good time to see, do we have good nodulation? If you're seeing poor nodulation, right here are the nodules here. These are what are the nitrogen source for this plant going forward. So if we have poor nodulation, perhaps looking at some foliar nutrient treatments or some nitrogen here in a week or two may be needed, but the best way to look at that is through a tissue test and know what that plant's actually taking up. But as we look, it's really important to start counting your nodes. For instance, we have 3 different planting dates out here. We're ranging anywhere from 14, 15 main nodes here on a plant down to 8. So even though they're all the same size, same height, as you're looking at your soybeans, you can really start to determine just how much branching. You look at this plant, we actually have five lateral, 6, 7 branches coming off this first node and first branch. So we're actually pretty excited about the soybeans out here. Obviously we got a lot of flowering and pod set to take place. We got to feed them late, but as far as setting the stage on these earlier planted soybeans out here, they're coming along real well. So a lot of things to be looking at in our fields. It's that time of year, hopefully we can avoid any more of the rough stuff. Certainly our feelings go out to the guys that got beat up, and we know that's part of farming that we just don't like. We've experienced out here. We're still kind of assessing where we're at Owner's Acres here at Aurora. Hastings fared well, David City's in good shape, but we obviously have some outside rows here in intercrop that got beat up a little bit, and we're continuing to evaluate that, and we'll see how we proceed moving forward.